Alright, you're here on this video because you're having trouble with squeaking. This is a troubleshooting video for how to stop squeaking. Now before we start, let me just tell you one of my favorite things when I think of the word squeak. It's from this Disney movie, Emperor's New Groove, where there's this character named Groot who supposedly speaks squirrel. And all he does is speak in squeaks. And he looks at a squirrel and he says, "Squeak, squeakum, squeakater." And that's what I always think of when I hear squeaks, because it's a funny thing. It's not something to get upset over. So if you're sitting there and you're really upset because you keep squeaking, squeak, squeakum, squeakater, it's okay. All squeaks are high sounds. When we play a brass instrument, if we blow our air faster and our muscles are developed, we're gonna get a higher note. That's all it is with woodwinds. If you are in the wrong spot on the reed or wrong pressure on the reed, you're gonna get a squeak. So how do we not squeak? Well, first off, let's practice this by getting a squeak, because if we can replicate the mistake, then we can start to break it down. So what I'm gonna do is just give you something to try, and I want you to try it after I say it. So you can pause the video and then press play to start up again. So if I want to squeak, one way I can squeak is by adding lots of pressure. So I'm gonna start with very little pressure on the reed, then I'm gonna add pressure. Now remember, when we add pressure with the clarinet, we don't do it with our lip. We do it with our teeth. And we use our lip in the way of the reed so that our reed and teeth never touch. You never want your teeth to touch the reed, but you want to change your pressure with your teeth. In effect, you're using your jaw. This gives you a little bit more control. It is possible just to move your lip, but that forms some rough habits. So I'm gonna keep that lip nice and thin still, and we're just gonna change the pressure. So here's little pressure to lots of pressure. It's beautiful, isn't it? Sounds like that squid we shouldn't talk about from that really obnoxious show, huh? So, I don't say his name, don't do it. I got all those high notes. That's all they were. It doesn't sound pretty, it's not pleasant, but all I did was add pressure, that's how I got it. So try that. Hit pause and then try that. Alright, now that gives you a lot more power in your flexibility of playing, because now you know how to make that squeak. Now don't do it anymore. The next thing that may cause a squeak, if that wasn't your problem, is you may end up having too much reed in your mouth. One good rule of thumb is that your bottom lip should touch about where the reed makes contact with the mouthpiece. That space, where that space stops, where the contact of the reed and the mouthpiece happen, is where you want your lip to touch. That's a good rule of thumb. If you take in too little reed, you're gonna end up putting too much pressure on the reed, probably. If you take in too much reed, any pressure is gonna cause a squeak. Like this. Yeek. I think my neighbors may be calling the police. We'll see. No one's getting hurt in here though, it's just the clarinet. So that was caused because I took in too much reed, my lip was in the wrong spot. Now hit pause and try that on your own. So we get that squeak. We know what caused that, we took in too much reed. So those are the two ways that we squeak. So how do we keep that from happening? Because now we know, that doesn't mean we're able to do it yet. So here's a couple things to help you out in not squeaking. Keeping those two things in mind. You gotta have the right amount of pressure and the right amount of reed in your mouth. If you have too much reed in your mouth, you're gonna squeak. Too much pressure, you're gonna squeak. So, couple things. One of my favorite clarinet players to study, Bonad, he suggested that it should be between 30 and 45. That's in his book Clarinet Compendium. That's a great read if you're at any level of clarinet playing. Now, one thing that he theorized that for is that gets us the perfect angle to approach the clarinet to have full control across all ranges. Now, that's incumbent upon your teeth and your overbite being a certain style. It's the normal style. So if you have a normal overbite, you're probably gonna fit in that 30 to 45 degree angle, which is what I try to teach my students. So check your angle, that's number one. Number two, check your teeth, your top teeth. These things up here, these guys, 1 and 2. You should have 2 of them. If you don't, this may be a little bit harder for you if you're still waiting for that other one to grow in, or if there's something else going on. If you have like a Tom Cruise thing where the center of your teeth is off to the side, go back and check his old movies, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm not even kidding. Center of his teeth was off. So the top teeth are all about pressing on the mouthpiece, and those need to receive the majority of pressure. Now how do you do that without changing your neck? You press up with your right thumb into the thumb rest, and then you use that to put pressure up into your top teeth. What this does is it helps you balance your lip pressure around all sides of the instrument. If you have a full balanced lip, where you're putting similar pressure from the lower and the corner and the upper lip, you're gonna take care of those squeaks. Evenness of lips. Pressure from your thumb into your top teeth. And that's what you're aiming for. That will help take care of squeaks. Understand, more than anything else, squeaks are a part of playing clarinet. There are still days after 23 years of playing clarinet that I squeak. There are still days when I wake up and I put the wrong amount of reed in my mouth just slightly, or I put a little bit too much pressure on the reed. That's gonna happen. It doesn't make you a failure. What makes you a failure is if you give up. What makes you someone that's a successful clarinet player is that you work through that and you find your good sound again, and you work and work and work until you don't squeak again. And then if you do squeak again, figure out how to not make it again. And that is good vibrations.